How you doing? I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. It's right before the holidays, and before you know it, people will get cheer and family and friends. Well, at least I hope so. First of all, I do like to take this moment and say I hope you're feeling compassionate and loving, and you're staying safe, and you're protecting yourself and your loved ones and those who are around you. I've been kind of disturbed in these last weeks because I've been noticing something that I'm not too familiar with, but I'm getting more associated with. And that is probably more of social media. And what I mean is probably the TikTok and the advice. I love that people are sharing their stories. I love that people are expressing themselves. I love that people are giving some advice for different friends and men and women, young men, old men, young women, old women, about health, about their spirituality, and about their mental health. But here's my dilemma. Here's a disclaimer. The disclaimer is I'm not too sure that the many who are listening to these amazing and wonderful advices, and even sometimes the advice I give, I try to be very small in what I give because everyone is not in the same space. Can we agree upon that? Everyone is not in the same situation. We can also agree upon that. And everyone does not have the same mental capacity to understand, cognitive skills to understand. There's a lot about ourselves we are misunderstanding because no one's ever taught us. I thoroughly believe in natural health, but I think a lot of the times when it comes to even things I do, I want to teach people of the how it's working, how chemicals work in your body, your natural chemicals, how your cellular biology works in your body, how your brain chemistry fires in your body, just on a natural. We're not even talking about the trauma, environment, things you're taught by the family you were brought up around. That's called education. And then also your stagnation of how you grew up and the place you grew up. And that's part of that environment. Those are called, those E's I've always talked about. They can be helpful or they can be blocks. So let me just share this with you real quick. I'm going to share my screen with you. So when we talk about emotions, education, things you're taught, energy, and environment. When we talk about these things, we are referencing things that you either develop by yourself or things that were given to you and you never understood how and the why. We must understand that we need to know our how and the why we go through these things. Emotions, education, energy, and environment. And I'm going to put under here things you are taught. When we talk about things you are taught, we're talking about something that someone told you that it was what it was. Things you are taught. Energy is that when it comes to energy, we are receivers and transmitters. We are receivers and transmitters. Most people don't know what they're transmitting, and most people don't understand what they are receiving. Okay, environment. Place you are or were. Emotions. Emotions are developed. So I want you to understand the how and the why. Emotions are developed, educations of things you are taught, and energy. We are receivers and transmitters. Environment, place you are, places that you were, place you are, and places where you were. That's what I'm going to make that quick and short. So I want you to see this. Now, when we are listening to advice, and the advice is so good, ask yourself, who am I and do I understand? You would think this is a simple question. Ask yourself, who am I and do I understand? If someone's talking about, if your woman does not do this, if your man does not do that, then they are not good. They are not suitable for you. Discard them. Now ask yourself, am I in the proper positioning to say that my woman or my man or my spouse is not doing what they are supposed to be doing when I am not doing what I could, can, am doing? And what am I doing and what am I not doing? Before we say, are they the proper spouse, proper mate? What am I doing? What am I not doing? Do I understand that about myself? Do I understand that about my education? Things that was taught. Do I understand that about my emotions? Do I understand that about my energy? Do I understand that about the environment that I am and what I was brought up in? And how am I relaying that to the information I am receiving? Like I said, there is some amazing, beautiful expressions out there, some great information, but I think some of this information should have a disclaimer. And I'm not sure if everyone is talking to everyone, or is everyone only talking to a few people, and the few people they're helping. But I think there's some people it could be hurting. I think it's some people are taking it and saying, yeah, my mate isn't doing that for me. My mate isn't being that for me. And my job isn't giving me all that. So I'm out of here. Wait a minute. Have you checked yourself? Have you investigated or invested in yourself? Have you invested in yourself where you pulled yourself apart and looked at the pieces that you are not? Or look at the pieces that you are built upon? That definitely needs to happen before you start to transcribe information that you're receiving and kick it out to information you're going to use to another. To call someone what they are not, what you believe that they are not, prior to doing it, can you express yourself into things that you are not, things that you would like to be, things that you cannot be, things that you hope to be, things that you're working on? If those expressions are not coming out prior to telling someone what but they are not, then most of your expression, all of your expression, is coming out of fear. And I've talked about this before. It is fear. And the reason why it's fear, because you're afraid to investigate in yourself. Tearing yourself apart. That takes work. That takes pain. That takes a lot of crying. It takes therapy. It takes someone else to say, can you tell me the things that I can be working on? Now, a lot of abilities, when we are talking about how can I understand this, some of this depends on the level that you are listening at. If you are playing more video games than reading, I think your cognitive skills are probably lacking in understanding. And here's how you can test some of your fear-based mental conception or perception. Are you able to try something without reflecting on the past? Can you try anything new without reflecting on the past? As a practicing Buddhist, this is something we clear up. And there's something that's part of that training we do to clear up that reflection of keep regressing. Because most of the people, if you don't know, 90% is that 90, I'm going to put that in big terms here because that's important. 90%. Hold on. 90% of the things you are learning or doing is subconscious based. 90% is subconscious based. 90% is subconscious based. The only way you work in what you call consciousness, cognitive consciousness, right, is to not bring anything forward from the previous. The emotions that was developed when you were a child, your education, the things that you were taught, that someone told you what it was and how it was supposed to be. For instance, I spank my children because my parents spanked me. That's things you're taught. Doesn't mean it makes sense. Or I seen this done and I know it works. Again, that's something that's taught. Whether it works or not, you have no idea why you're using that formula. As a scientist, we use formulas, but we also have hypotheses, and we keep trying different things. There is no guaranteed in something until you tear it apart, right? Your environment. Well, this is where I grew up, and this is how we do it. That's not living on a cognitive consciousness of now. Ask yourself, who am I? And do I understand? Right? Energy, receivers and transmitters. What are you transmitting and what are you receiving? So many people are struggling with understanding their mental health because they keep thinking it's part of their things that they're not. They're not searching into it. We have to be the searchers. Otherwise, we get conflicted, confused, and we get all caught up, and we get argumentative, and then also we get very sad. And then we don't know why we're sad. Help. Ask for help. Ask someone to help you tear this apart. Because I've never torn apart a car engine before. But I tell you, if I did it, even if I could do it, I would ask for help. And that's why mechanics are friends, right? Come over and help me tear apart this engine. Have someone come over and help you tear apart your emotional, mental engine. Tear it apart, just like you have to tear apart your spiritual engine. You have to learn how to tear this thing apart. Because the rebuilding of it, if you're only putting back pieces that someone gave you and said, here, this works for you. Put this in your engine. Put this in your mental engine. Your engine's running on whose theory and whose development. Your emotions are running on whose education. I try to help you understand the how, not so much the why. Your why you will figure out if you understand how it's working. If you understand how you've been pre-programmed, how you have not developed yourself. As a martial artist, that's one of the things that really makes us different between a martial artist, a martial scientist, and a person who kicks and punches. Because we tear it apart. We understand who we are, our breath, our emotions, our feelings, our heart, our spiritual, our soul, and every movement we make. That's been around for centuries. I can help show you. What I want you to do is ask yourself, how and the why? How are my emotions being developed? Things that were taught? Am I moving this forward? And 90% is subconscious based. 90%. People are living in subconscious based 90%. They're living in past. They're not even living in the now. You can see. And again, I'll give you an idea of how you can help yourself understand, am I bringing things from my past forward? Ask yourself, the words you are using, how did you develop that phrase or that statement? Ask yourself before you speak, who is speaking? Is this something I have learned? This is something I heard before? Or this is something I understand? And what it could do after I say it. So that takes time. It does. Slow your speech down. Slow your speech down. Take away some of the distraction. Can you sit quietly without falling asleep? That's also let you know can you live in the present. If you're unable to sit quiet, how long? You can see Dr. P. For how long? 10 minutes without having something from the past come forward or something that you're looking forward to do. If that's very difficult for you, just think when you're really moving, subconsciously is mostly working in your now. Until you're able to sit for at least 10 minutes without thinking of a past or the future, without falling asleep, that's how you're working on your cognitive consciousness of now. It's a great way. I hope this helps. This is Mental Health Monday. I'm Dr. Paul. You guys have a great week. Have a blessed week. Be compassionate, be kind, be loving. And you have a great evening.